My preview of the Baylor at West Virginia football game. Offensively, they have allowed 21 tackles for loss and 8 sacks, 2 interceptions and 3 fumbles lost, and 2 of those were pick sixes. Both of those. They averaged 38.2 points per game, 186.2 rushing yards per game, 268.6 passing yards per game. Time possession 33 minutes 22 seconds, 38 for 77 on third down, 12 for 15 on fourth down. 136 first downs. They run a spread offense. Their average 2 deep on the West Virginia offensive line is 310 pounds. Obviously, some players to keep an eye on, like offensively, are JT Daniels, number 18, 6'2", 226-pound quarterback. That's a junior. 116 completions out of 182 attempts for 1,209 yards, with 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and 13 rushing attempts for negative 40 yards with 1 touchdown. So he's not known for a scrambler by any means. Obviously, I would have mentioned C.J. Donaldson, but he's not going to play. So the next closest guy, 3 guys to keep an eye on are like Tony Mathis Jr., number 24, 5'11", 205-pound running back. That's a sophomore. 70 rushing attempts for 296 yards with 3 touchdowns and 3 receptions for negative 1 yards, which along with 6 yards. Justin Johnson Jr., number 26, 5'10", 298-pound running back. That's a sophomore. 40 rushing attempts for 187 yards with 2 touchdowns and 5 receptions for 32 yards, along as 10 yards. Jalen Anderson, number 28, 5'11", 214-pound running back. That's a freshman. 6 rushing attempts for 33 yards, along as 14 yards. Now, some wide receivers are keeping an eye on are obviously Bryce Ford-Wheaton, number 0, 6'3", 224-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 35 receptions for 412 yards with 4 touchdowns, and the long is 67 yards. Sam James, number 13, 5'11", 176-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 20 receptions for 305 yards with 2 touchdowns. Ken Prather, number 3, 6'4", 211-pound wide receiver. That's a sophomore. 28 receptions for 260 yards with 2 touchdowns. Reese Smith, number 15, 5'10", 187-pound wide receiver. That's a sophomore. 10 receptions for 94 yards. Michael O'Laughlin, number 87, 6'5", 252-pound tight end. That's a junior. 5 receptions for 66 yards. Cortez Bram is number 11, 6'2", 198-pound wide receiver. That's a junior. 6 receptions for 66 yards. That's just naming some guys right there. Now, defensively, they struggle in a pass defense once I get to the numbers. They allow 38.2 points per... I don't know if that number is correct, but it's at least close to 30 points per game. I'm going to double check that. I think it's 38.2 for sure, but actually 29.6 points per game allowed. So I'm going to go back and correct that, but still almost 30 points per game. They allowed 83 first downs, 100.6 rushing yards per game allowed, 230.8 passing yards per game allowed. That's the weak spot right there. They have 24 tackles for loss and 11 sacks. Their defensive line is good. I give them that. 1 interception and 2 fumble recoveries. 26 for 60 on third down. 4 for 7 on fourth down. 26 minutes, 38 seconds of time possession allowed. They blocked 1 kick. They run like a 3-4 with the 1 outside linebacker swapped for a nickelback, and the defensive line average weight at the 2 or 3 deep is 285.9 pounds. 3 deep at nose tackle / defensive end is 293.4. 2 deep at defensive end is 267 pounds. 20 yeah, already. Wait a minute. I'm going to go to the West Virginia stats online. Because I might have messed up again. Let me go. Even though they're 2-3 right now, they could be easily 4-1. So they're better than their record showed. I'm not going to give them that win against Texas because, one, they were blown out. $26 for $60. Yep, that's... Yep, okay. Some players to keep an eye on are like Lee Kogbo, K-P-O-G-B-A. Number 8, 6'1", 230-pound linebacker. That's a junior, 31 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 4 quarterback hurries, and 1 fumble recovery. Marcus Floyd, number 24, 6 foot, 194-pound safety. That's a junior, 25 tackles, 3 pass breakups. Aubrey Burks, number 2, 5 foot 11", 201-pound safety. That's a sophomore, 20 tackles. Hershey McLaurin, number 13, 6 foot 1", 204-pound safety. That's a sophomore, 19 tackles. Jazeer Cox, number 7, 6 foot 1", 204-pound defensive back / linebacker. That's a senior, 19 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. Lance Dixon, number 5, 6 foot 2", 220-pound linebacker. That's a sophomore, 15 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and 1 quarterback hurry. Xuri Lee, number 6, 5 foot 11", 214-pound linebacker. That's a senior, 14 tackles and 1 cornerback hurry. Sean Martin, number 91, 6 foot 5", 279-pound defensive lineman. Sophomore, 13 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 2 pass breakups. Jordan Jefferson, number 95, 6 foot 2", 310-pound defensive lineman. That's a junior, 13 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 2 pass breakups. Rashad Ajayi, number 4, 5 foot 11", 182-pound cornerback. That's a senior, 11 tackles and 1 pass breakup. Dante Stills, number 55, 6 foot 4", 285-pound defensive lineman. That's a senior, 11 tackles, 3 solo, 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 quarterback hurries, and 1 forced fumble. Taj Austin, number 12, 6 foot 4", 255-pound defensive lineman. That's a senior, 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 2 forced fumbles. Okay, Jared Bartlett is another guy, number 10, 6 foot 2", 235-pound linebacker. That's a sophomore, and 9 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, and 1.5 sacks. Edward Verestarian, number 96, 6 foot 3", 281-pound defensive lineman. That's a sophomore, 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 0.5 sacks, and 1 quarterback hurry. Mike Lockhart, number 93, 6 foot 4", 317-pound defensive lineman. That's a sophomore, 3 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and 1 quarterback hurry. Taria Simmons, number 45, 6 foot 2", 238-pound defensive lineman, 3 tackles, 1 solo. Okay, so that's pretty much all the guys you need to know. Special teams wise, they still have Casey Legg as their kicker, number 48, 6 foot 4", 213-pound kicker. That's a senior, 19 for 19 on extra points, but 8 for 8 on field goals, which 6 for 6 is 20 to 29 yards, and 2 for 2, 30 to 39 yards, as long as 38 yards. Oliver Straw is their punter now, number 41, 6 foot 2", 214-pound punter. That's a freshman, 13 punts for 519 yards, as long as 48 yards, by the way, and the average is 39.9 yards. But 5 of those went inside the 20-yard line, and none went over 50 yards. So, now, you have to come out with more energy for the jump, Baylor, on both sides of the ball. The penalties was not the issue last game. It's just the energy level from the start. You got to pick that up from the beginning. I mean, it's on the road, I get it, but you got to bring out the energy and limit the penalties. Of course, I'm going to start defensively. You got to be able to start down the run a lot better than this game than the last game, which I expect. But pass defense-wise, it concerns me. We don't need to get beat deep or short. I would say we need to bring more, maybe to have it like an open tryout, like I said in another video, at cornerback or something. I mean, like with all the guys we have on the roster, and just try to and maybe even bring back Al Walcott to corner. And I would also say the pass rush needs to be a lot better. No sacks last game. 0. You got to bring some pressure. JT Daniels is not a scrambler. And the thing is, this offensive line for West Virginia has given up some sacks this year. You got to keep that in mind. I mean, 8 of them. And I know they didn't get a lot of sacks against them at Pitt, but the offensive line scared West Virginia. I mean, they couldn't block them. They got so many quarterback hurries in that one game. So that's another thing. I would also say you got to force turnovers in the game defensively. That would help, especially to get your offense back on the field. You should be able to take advantage of the pass defense for West Virginia offensively. You should. It's the run that's a little bit worrisome because, honestly, West Virginia's run defense is good, but you got to be a lot better than last game on the offensive line, and you got to run block a lot better at every level. They don't care. I don't matter to me not just one position group needs to step up. It's everyone. Offensive line, fullback, tight ends, wide receivers. That's the truth. I mean, they have allowed 24 pass breakups this year and 9 quarterback hurries, by the way. So I'll include that in the stats below. Obviously, take care of the ball. Unlike last game, but really, that interception, the first one by Blake Shapen, that's not on him. It was on the wide receivers. In particular, that guy that I'm mentioning on that interception is Gavin Holmes. You got to be able to catch the ball a lot better, man. And same goes for every wide receiver and every tight end. You got to step up in this game. And if you're a running back in this game, you got to be able to instead of it's a Richard Reese problem that he had on a 4th down and short that he went for and they missed it. He should have just stuck his leg in the ground and went forward instead of to the outside, because Oklahoma State's fast. So you got to be a lot better and go more upfield. And I know for a fact, no take McWilliams for this game still. Khalil Keith might be back, which will help. So, obviously, special teams wise, I'm going to only mention this. Kick the ball to the end zone every time, kickoff team. Don't allow them to be able to return the ball on you. Or if you do, be a lot better in coverage. Because the only 2 times they ran it out, Oklahoma State did, they got big yards. I mean, 50 yards. And then a touchdown. Over 100 yards, nearly 100 yards. And a big kickoff return to hurt you later on, because the offense for Oklahoma State, 3 plays, within less than 3 plays, they scored a touchdown on you. I will also mention this on defense. You got to be a lot better in 2 minute scenarios, like in closing halves out. You got to be a lot better. I mean, and that's the truth. And you can't be complacent on any side of the ball or even special teams. You got to go out and execute. This is a game that you need to find a way to win. Because first of all, you need to bounce back from a loss. Second of all, you never won there before. Let's just try to get your first win ever there. And third, this is a winnable game. And yes, I know based on the stats that West Virginia has owned Baylor and Morgantown. But that's in the past. We just gotta be ready for this game, and come out with a lot of energy and keep that energy all game long. So let's go out there and give it to them, because let's give our 110% and make West Virginia give them fits in this game. I mean, it's kind of in the same position as last year. We're coming off of a loss to Oklahoma State, but we had a bye. I know last year we didn't, but then we bounced back and beat West Virginia pretty handily. I don't know if it's going to be that much of a blowout. I don't know. But we have to be better than last game. That's number one. So, anyways, I just want to go over all this. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into 400 subscribers more by the end of this year.